Hello, this is Wayne, March 10th, 2020, and today we're looking at artichokes before they put on their flower heads in a positive growth stage. And I use a raised, you could say it's a large raised bed, heavily mulched underneath. Artichokes are perennials. They die back in the summertime and they grow in the winter. They have to have a certain amount of frost during the winter to produce a flower head, and that's you eat the immature flower heads. And that's what you get whenever you go to the store or wherever you may buy them. And this is what they look like before they put on their flower head. So what I do with this mulch is I suppress weeds with it. It retains moisture. You deal with some decomposing insects occasionally that'll affect smaller plants, but not these things. They're pretty much, it just seems like they're pretty insect proof. I mean, they got a few things that mess with them, but not too much. These are big plants. They take up lots of space. They like their water. But the time of year that they grow, usually if we have a good season, we get sufficient rainfall and just have to do a little supplemental irrigation occasionally. So this is about probably a 5.5 foot round bale, and you can see the size of this plant growing next to a large round bale. And so this is a good example of what a perennial bed, something that you don't really have to mess with too much. I use compost. You can see I just put stuff whenever, like vegetable scraps, inside of cardboard, and then I'll just lay it down and cover it up with hay, and it disappears and you won't see it again. Any plastic that falls in there, just remove it, you know, and then it looks like this. And some areas that after the mulch breaks down and it exposes the soil surface, then you could throw some alfalfa seed or clover seed, whatever you have, whatever your region allows you to do. I'm in Zone 8, Elgin, Texas, actually Lund, Texas, small community northeast of Austin, growing community. So the man in the camera is rarely seen. So here we go. So I'm proud of my little artichoke bed. They propagate off of pups, off the side of the side shoots of a plant. This is the wrong time of the year to transplant them. I mean, as far as you can see that there's, that maybe next year I'll dig up a few of the pups, but you see that, you know, it's probably 3 plants that grow off of one plant. It depends on the conditions that they have. And so this plant came up from seed last year. This is Imperial Star. Imperial Star can be grown in cooler climates. This is a set 2-year-old plant. I like Green Globe. It works out here, but I happened to end up with Imperial Star, and at the time that I had bought a few transplants at the nursery, I stuck them in the ground, started a couple from seed, and you know, the seed takes a little bit longer. The plants will be about half this size if you decided to start from seed the first year, but they'll produce an artichoke, but only one. These larger plants will produce multiple artichokes. One plant will produce several, and they'll have main large heads, and excuse me, and they'll have smaller side shoots. I like to marinate the smaller side shoots, and I like to eat and steam or put into a Greek or Greek dishes and then I like to add tomato base, tomatoes and potatoes and artichoke and olive oil and Italian seasonings and all that good stuff to make a nice stew out of these things. But the marinated artichokes are the best. They're fine. And if you can nail the recipe, it'll work. But there's a lot of recipes out there that are not all that great, at least for this type of artichoke. The artichokes that are grown in the Mediterranean are probably not this variety. They're probably a little different. The artichokes are male and females, from what I understand, if I've gotten the right information. I can't tell which plants are male or which plants are female, but whenever the chokes come to the surface, then they're going to, the male plants will have a spike on top of you'll see a spike on top of the artichoke, and the ones that are female will have a depression on the petals of the artichoke. So this is a pretty quick tutorial on these things. I was a little apprehensive of messing with them initially, but now I think it's a permanent fixture and it guarantees us a little early production. So if you're in a southern climate, or if you're in some type of climate that's not frozen right now, you can grow these things and you'll probably have a crop in April, late part of April. And then they make a beautiful purple flower head after the artichokes if you leave them on the plant. They're gigantic thistles is what it amounts to. And so I think it's worth doing if you have the space. If you don't have the space, they make a decorative plant. You could have one in one area, and one plant will produce maybe 20 or 30 artichokes. It would be a nice addition to your food garden or to your landscape. As far as commercial value in the state of Texas, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. Texas A&M website says that they've tried artichoke farms in Texas, and I think our summers get too hot. And the soil has to be remediated. It has to be a rich soil. You can't do it in poor soil. Not successfully, but as an example of how they come up, this one came up from seed. She, whatever, is 2 years old, and I just started mulching around it. Okay, so this is pretty cool. And we're going to go over here. That's some that's seeded out. We'll go over here to an area that I'm going to let these grow for decoration, but eating and, you know, just corner accents. These came up from seed, and so what I'm doing is mulching and fertilizing them, establishing the bed as they grow. These were from seed. They sprouted. They've overwintered. They sprouted when we had our rains in the fall. And here's one next to an oak tree, which is completely experimental. It's going to be a little bit of competition, but the oak tree, it's a red oak. It's not all that, it's still dormant, but it's coming. You can see that they're starting to break dormancy. But this one should be in the right spot to get enough sunlight and enough shade to make a decent plant. So if you could picture this plant here was started by seed in October of 2019, and this plant over here, which is 2 years old, well, let's see, something like that, was started in October of 2018. See the size difference? Okay, this one's going to produce some nice artichokes. These little guys probably could produce an artichoke the first year, but I don't think I'm going to let them. I think I'm just going to cut it off so the plant can get its self-established. And once you get these plants established, then looks like somebody's trying to get my attention. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Happy gardening.